Chris, how are you this morning?
I'm good. I don't know what I was just listening to, but I'm good.
Well, you're not alone because we were there last night in the moment at Caroline's when Fritzy took the stage.
Oh, I've been to Caroline's a few times in my life. I think I can safely say I'm glad I wasn't there last night based on what I just heard.
All right. Assess what happened last night, and if you're a Celtics fan, how should you feel as this series goes back to Boston?
Well, two things changed significantly in these last two games. One, Cleveland won the physical battle. And, Ty Lue kind of said it after game two that we've got to be more physical. Boston's kind of gooning it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the Cavaliers these last two games took that to heart, and they played more physical. The obvious number to look at is the rebounding edge. They won by double digits for the second game in a row. But, anecdotally, you just see Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love really asserting themselves over these last two games. The other part of it I saw was, Brad Stevens is a great coach, but I thought Ty Lue had a terrific two games. Strategically, some of the things he did, he noted that Jaylen Brown was killing them in the first quarter. He dispatched LeBron on him early and shut Brown down twice. Brown really had a nightmarish last couple of games. That was a big part of it. And, sticking Thompson on Al Horford throughout the game. I mean, if you watched last night, Dan, Thompson was basically on a yo-yo. Whenever Horford was in, here came Tristan Thompson. And, Horford really struggled, for these last two games. So, that it was a great run for Cleveland. But one thing about Boston, you asked, how the Celtics should feel, how Boston fans should feel. For whatever reason, they're a completely different team at home. They're a young team, and I think that plays into it. Young teams really struggle on the road historically. So I don't think they're out of it. I just think they have to address the fact that for two games they were bullied around the floor.
What do you make of LeBron James, maybe the best playoff run that he's ever had?
I mean, he's unreal. I mean, I wrote about this last night. Boston's a very smart defensive team, and they switch everything, and they communicate really well. A lot of things people necessarily don't see on TV, players will tell me that Boston's really good at. And LeBron, I think his greatest strength, Dan, outside of the muscle and the speed and just the ability to pass like a point guard, it's his ability to kind of diagnose what a defense is doing and come up with a counter to it. And, last night, Boston didn't want to switch Terry Rozier onto LeBron every single time. But, throughout the course of the game, LeBron found the man that Rozier was guarding and went at him and forced those switches. Those switches absolutely killed Boston in this one. So, he's look, you can point to the threes. He's on a good streak over these last, 4 games or so. That's huge for his game and everything else. But I just, it's really amazing to watch kind of his mind work, during a game as he sees a great defense, a really good defense anyway, and just picks it apart.
Talking to Chris Mannix from Yahoo Sports, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Yeah, just trying to figure this out where Brad Stevens, is he still a genius?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's still a great coach.
I know, but people are labeling him a genius, which they shouldn't.
But isn't this what we do, Dan? Isn't it like we kind of build him up to tear him down? It's like, Brad Stevens was never quite as good as everybody said he was, and these last couple of games, he's not as bad as some people might think he is. Or I think, Game 3, there was nothing stopping what Cleveland was doing. I mean, they were a juggernaut in Game 3. I mean, they were going to Gershon Yabusele in the first quarter, dusting off Greg Monroe in the first quarter. Nothing could stop what Cleveland did. I thought last night there were some tactical mistakes. I would have probably played Aaron Baines more. He's really the only guy that can physically match up with Tristan Thompson, and I thought he had some good runs during that game. And you got to find a way to get Jason Tatum going. I mean, Tatum is Boston's best offensive player, hands down. His ability to score supersedes everybody on that team. But you're seeing what happens to a 20-year-old in a physical playoff series. Jason Tatum's got, 3 inches on J.R. Smith. And if you watch him out there, Dan, off the ball, he can't establish position at all. He's playing like a 20-year-old in this series, and Brad Stevens and the Celtics have to find some way to shake that out.
What I don't understand is when a team wins by 30 and then loses by 30 in the next game, like what happens? I know that we're changing the site, the location, but how does one team go from being so good to so bad from one game to another?
Well, as I said in Boston's case, their young players are just they're having trouble on the road. It's not just this series. All postseason, they've had trouble on the road. On the flip side of it, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but you can look them up. The Cavs role players play so much better at home than they do on the road. I mean, J.R. Smith, who's as streaky as they get, his home road numbers, he's just so much better there. Kyle Korver, he's been great in a lot of places, but he's been better at home. I mean, it's perimeter shooting. You know, the Cavs their offense is predicated on guys making shots around LeBron James, and for whatever reason, they're just far more comfortable playing at home. So I just think it boils down to that these guys that are younger or more streakier are better at home or worse on the road.
Who do you like?
It's hard to bet against LeBron when he's got some momentum, but I do think that the youth of Boston, where they benefit from it is feeding off that home crowd. And, people sometimes think that's just cliche, like, wow, they feed off the crowd and all that stuff. And the players tend to sound kind of dumb when they say, like, our home crowd's the best in the NBA. But the simple fact is that, all postseason, the Celtics have just been a different team at home, and they still only have to win their home games down the stretch. That being said, I mean, this is the greatest player of our generation who has, figured some things out about the way the Celtics are defending him. And as I wrote last night, Dan, the Celtics are just another team that LeBron is in a position to own. I mean, think about the teams that LeBron has decimated over these last 7 years. I mean, Indiana, two versions of it. The Atlanta Hawks, when Budenholzer was coaching that team, and they had 4 All-Stars. And now the Celtics, who they're in a position now to potentially beat for the third time in the playoffs in 4 years. This guy is a one-man wrecking ball in the Eastern Conference, so it's hard to bet against him.
These aren't exactly murderer's row, the teams that you're telling me about, though.
Well, no, but Indiana was really good when Paul George and West and Hibbert were there, weren't they? I mean,
competitive.
The Hawks were a 60-win team with 4 All-Stars on it, one of those years, Dan. I mean, they were like they're not, it's not Golden State or Houston. I'll give you that, but still pretty good.
How important is this game tonight? What?
We both know I need Boston to win because I'm already terrified of losing my hair. So that's the biggest factor in all this.
Now, here's the thing. If that happens, you need to get your hair buzzed on the show prior to the start of the NBA Finals.
No, that's not happening.
Well, no, wait, no, that was never part of the bet that you, Paulie, do you have the paperwork there?
Got it right here, Dan.
Okay.
No clause about that.
Yeah, there's no clause about waiting till after the NBA Finals, Mannix.
There's also no clause that says I have to do it before the NBA Finals.
No, you pay up a bet. No, you pay up a bet right away.
Yeah, you do. No,
I mean, that's what gentlemen do.
Wow. No. I'm agreeing like Samson in the Bible. I'm agreeing to have my. No.
Chris, the Welcher Mannix. Wow.
Okay.
Man.
I'd like to point out that your right-hand man there, Paulie, swore to me that you would never fulfill your end of the bargain on this one. Vowed to me that you'd never let me host the show with you there.
I guarantee it because it's not going to happen. Dan will make sure of it.
How do you think you got those strange calls last night? That went against the Celtics. Hello, that's me.
There were some. There were some bad calls.
I know.
I mean,
there were bad calls both ways, though. I just didn't like the way it was officiated. All right, I'll leave you with this. How important is tonight for the Rockets?
Oh, it's everything, especially if Iguodala is not able to play. I mean, you've got to pull something out. I mean, nobody can beat Golden State. Like in back-to-back games, it's almost impossible. I mean, the idea that any team, even a team that won 65 games, can do it in 3 out of 4 is just completely impossible. I mean, look, more than anything, Dan, this game is a referendum on James Harden. James Harden is the probable MVP. He was completely outplayed by a bunch of guys, most notably Steph Curry in Game 3. I mean, this is the game that I think James Harden is going to remember for years. If he shows up and the Rockets win, it's going to be a feather in his cap. But if he no-shows like he did in Game 3, we're going to be talking about this and Harden's inability to win in the playoffs for a long time.
Thank you, Chris.
You got it, Dan.
That's Chris Mannix, Yahoo Sports. His bet is if Boston doesn't go to the NBA Finals, then he will get his hair cut off, a buzz cut. And then I think it's something like if Boston does go, then he gets to host the show while I'm in McLovin's seat. Is that what it is, Paulie? Or do you guys know?
Yeah, I guess you have to sit elsewhere, and he gets to sit in your chair to host
So
the
I
show.
just observe.
Right.
Observe and report.
Or you're like the fifth Danette with us.
Yes, Fritzy.
So are we going to roll with that new nickname, Chris, the Welcher Mannix? It has a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
Depending on how things play
when
out.
you lose a bet, you pay the bet. You don't go, let me wait until it's convenient. He wants to delay it.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.